Hello, and welcome to a solo, also at home, episode of 'Cause I Said So. My darling mother is gallivanting around the Bahamas as we speak. She's on like an adult couples vacation. And it's really cute because she's learned how to do her first Instagram boomerang. So Kim's basking in the sunshine. She's with her husband. She's having a blast. It was also cute because she actually turned in her vacation days like a month ago. She emailed me and she's like, I'm going to be on vacation from X day to X day. And I was like, wow, that's so cute that I can't say anything other than I hope you have fun. She took with her, like a good little podcaster would, Kim took with her Mamitas, who happens to be our presenting sponsor. So my mom and her friends, there's 5 couples, are on the beach in the Bahamas having Mamitas parties. And all the other ladies love it. They're like, this drink is actually good. They have the Paloma and the lime flavors, and they have a a party pack. So they're tasting them all. But the thing about Mamitas is less than 1 gram of sugar and 95 calories. So it's a real winner with everybody, especially like a daytime drink. I was like, oh, that's smart. You can get them on drinkmamitas.com or Gopuff, or we always link the store locator because it's fun to just be able to type in where you want to get it and then go get it. I'm in Oklahoma City right now, and I was looking and there's 3 locations around me. So there's probably plenty near you too. Go get some Mamitas. Happy Thursday. The purpose for today's solo episode, let me say this, it's ironic how timing works because it works out this week that a solo episode is best. It's probably what I should be doing, and we planned this months ago. What I was gonna do today is a 6-month review because I've been at Barstool for 6 months. A lot changed when I moved there. We moved to New York. I'll get into all of that. And then when I tell you a little bit about my last 30 days, you'll be like, oh, wow, this is very fitting that she's at home having a little solo episode chat with us. So that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a raw, honest, pretty vulnerable on my part. That sounded like I deserved kudos. Everything I'm about to tell you is my fault. It's just vulnerable of me to tell you, perhaps. So let's get into it. Oh, hold on. I have to say this really quickly. The one thing about being in Oklahoma City and being home is that I can drive places. So I just keep going on drives. And in New York, you walk places, but here you drive places. And let me tell you, there's something about being in a car, just having your music or having a podcast and being by yourself that's recharging. Also, when you go to the grocery store here, they put each individual item. I haven't been to a Target in a long time, and I went to Target yesterday and I got 5 things. Let me just say, I made a list of 5 things and I actually bought all 5 things, only that. And they gave me 2 bags for 5 things, and they double bagged those bags. And in New York, you have to pay for your bags. And so I was laughing to myself thinking, oh, the difference, this would be 40 cents for 4 bags here in Oklahoma. It's free. They're like, all the bags, take some bags home. You want more bags? You get a bag. You get a bag. So it's just, the difference is funny. All right. So I can't avoid it any longer. So 6 months ago, my mom and I got our job at Barstool hosting this mother-daughter podcast and creating mother-daughter content. Barstool, ever since I was a freshman in college, was my dream job. I didn't know why I wanted to work there or what I was even going to do there. But I was like, I love Barstool. I love what it represents, and I'm going to work there. They say your path is never if you drew out at 21 years old, if you drew out your path from 21 to 30, it's never going to look like what you put on paper. And mine didn't. I had marketing jobs. I worked for an interior designer. I had all these great jobs. And then it took me one day to muster up the courage to start creating content that eventually led me to Barstool. And I was like, wow, that came so full circle. Definitely not how I thought I was going to get here. It was also a dream, so I never knew if I really was going to get there, but I knew that I wanted to. Anyways, back in July, I get the job offer for August. Or September. So, anyways, my mom and I start. I moved to New York, new job, new city. My mom's commuting between Oklahoma City and New York. It took the first 3 months to really get acclimated. Like there's people in the office, you have to get to know their names. My mom's like hasn't had a job in 30 years. She's commuting between New York. It's a lot to handle, but let me tell you what, it was beautiful. Like you feel a nice combination of uncomfortable, but some pressure that was really nice. And also this like creative ability to be yourself. To say I loved the environment and still love the environment is an understatement. But I loved it right off the bat when it was really unfamiliar. And I've grown to like it even more the more I get used to it. So about 3 months in, I would say 3 months in, we start this podcast. I was like, I don't like making vlogs. I think, Mom, you and I would love a podcast where you just sit down and we talk to each other. And we did. We loved it. My mom really loves it. I love it too, but she's grown to like really, really, really love it. At first, I think she was like, I don't know what we're doing here. And now she totally gets it. So, 'Cause I Said So was born as the podcast. We still make our TikToks. We still make our reels. We're still trying to figure out like what all that looks like. But so we settle on the podcast. About a month ago, I started doing another podcast with a darling coworker of mine named Jordan Woodruff, who is also new to Barstool. It's called the Mean Girl Podcast. You might know about it, you might not. It's a lot different than 'Cause I Said So. It's not the mother-daughter relationship. It's more of like Jordan's single, so it's like her going out in New York City. It's like the married dynamic with the single dynamic. It's our nightlife. It's a lot of things. So it's like they're two totally different things. So now I do 2 podcasts. Okay. I would say overall, absolutely love New York, absolutely love the energy in New York, and absolutely love Barstool and everything that comes with it, especially the ability that they give you and the freedom to be yourself. So that's probably like the 6-month update. And it's really not that interesting other than we like our job. We're getting more acclimated to it and we're having fun. Okay, nothing groundbreaking there. What I want to talk to you guys about is Alex personally, like the last 30 days, I would say, give or take. I would say, so I like pressure. I don't want this to come off that I'm saying there was a lot of pressure on me. I'm a fan of pressure, always have been. Alex, started handling the pressure terribly. Don't even call it pressure. I just started handling life terribly. I let the wheels fall off. And let's say you have 4 wheels. I think it's okay if from time to time 1 wheel falls off. Not a big deal. You pull over, you put it back on. I did things a little differently. I let 1 fall off and kept going and then let the other and then the other. There's good ways to handle pressure and then there's bad ways to handle it. And I chose the bad way. I would say I did 3 things. The first one is I started drinking a lot. So if there's 7 days in a week, I wouldn't drink all 7 of the days. Let's say I'm at home 6 of the days or 5 of the days. I'm like a normal person at home eating dinner. I'm in bed, even doing yoga and like reading before bed. The other 1 or 2 days of the week, I would go out. And to say I go out would be the understatement of the century. I mean, I would go out, black out, throw up, pass out, shit show of a go-outer. And so let's take the last 30 days and let me just say I did it 5 or 6 times. All right. So I do it the first 2 times and I wake up and I'm like, hold on. I know better than this. Like, I'm anxious. What did I do last night? Like, I passed out at the bar. I came home at 5 a.m. Like, what on earth? So that happens like the first 2 times. And I wake up after the second one and I'm like, Alex knows better. So now it's time to do better. Okay, well then, so I right the ship for about 5 or 6 days. Then the wheels fall off again. I mean, it is shit show Alex. Like, I would I would get out of the cab or the Uber, and I would like, at one point I fell. There's like these grates that go around trees in New York City. I fell in that. I mean, the stories are so embarrassing that I'm just, like, the wheels were so off, throwing up in the club. Like, and I would go out and I'd have like 2 glasses of wine. And then from there, immediately, it's like everything was just like black. Like at some points, like when I was in college or something, I would be at the bar and there would be a time where I'd be like, uh-oh, like, we're having too much fun. Let's go home. I gotta have like a normal, just like, oh, my radar is like, oh yeah, we've had fun. Let's call it a night. That's been gone for the last 30 days. And so it happens the first 2 times. And I'm like, all right, we know better. We're going to do better. The third time it happened, something like shifted in my body. Like I woke up and I didn't remember anything from the night before. And I'm just like talking to my husband. I'm going to get into how Graham's handling this is like a segment in of its own. But I would talk to my husband, who, mind you, does not drink. My darling, darling husband is just watching his wife like go ape shit, for lack of a better analogy again. And he's looking at me and he's so sweet. And he's just like, I thought you weren't going to do this again. And this is the point where I lost trust in myself, because it was like, I couldn't do better, I guess. It was this weird moment where I was like, I've said to myself twice now, like, I'm going to get it together. And here I sit a third time and it's not together. So I am blacking out at the bars. That's the first thing I'm doing. The second thing I started to do after this third time was close myself off. I closed myself off to people at work. My producer's like listening on the phone. She's one of the people. Like I just started to like build a shell around myself. I would text my friends less. I put up a wall. It wasn't that bad to where it's like super noticeable, but you're just kind of like, she's existing as a person, and she just doesn't seem to have anything together. Like that's how I would say. You would just be like, it's pretty unimpressive. Like, okay, she's wild, and past that, there's not much going on. And then I would say I started to go pretty numb because I had lost the trust in myself. And I was like, I thought we could do better than this. I thought we weren't going to do this anymore, and we're still doing it. So we're not keeping the promises we're making to ourselves. That's where you lose confidence. Nothing feels worse than that. I definitely did that to myself. There were points where I'd like try to cry and tears, like they wouldn't fall from my face. So I was just like a shell. I was like, is anybody here? So that's after the third time. Oh, I go out a fourth time, blackout, throw up, do it again. And then fast forward to this last Thursday. Lo and behold, I did it again. I think it's I was in a tornado. I had put myself in a tornado. It's very important to realize that Alex put herself in it. Like I was just going out bananas, totally neglecting myself, like also being entirely reckless. And I just like couldn't stop doing it until this last Thursday when I woke up and I finally could cry. I was having these thoughts that were like, they were harmful to myself. I was like, I don't want to be this person, but like, I've said that 5 times now and I'm still being this person. And I scared myself. And so my husband's been out of town this past week. So I call him and I'm like, something's got to change. Like, I was like angry almost. I was like, what's going on? Like, what is it gonna take? And he's like, you should go to Oklahoma. Every time you go to Oklahoma, which is not very often, but when you do go, that's like where your roots are. And I'm lucky to have Oklahoma be my home base. I'm lucky that I can come home. I saw my parents before they left for the Bahamas for like 2 hours. And I'm lucky that they didn't greet me with like judgment. I just decided to tell them. I was like, guys, I was blacked out last night. Threw up, didn't know. Don't remember anything past a certain time. I had taken Adderall while I drank. I said things. I've been saying things when I go out. Like, it's gibberish, nothing makes sense. And then I wake up the next morning and I'm greeted with a whole pile of anxiety that nobody caused besides Alex Bennett. So it's like the frustrating part about it for me was it's something I could control, but I wasn't controlling it. My parents were nothing but gracious when I got home, and they were like, you're gonna get through this. Like, we're not mad at you. Just figure it out. Like, take good care of Alex. So I'm lucky that I'm able to come home and press reset. And that's why I'm here right now is sometimes I think it takes you A, acknowledging it, but B, just like getting out of the situation and being like, whoa, come up for air, look around and be like, well, you created quite a storm there, didn't you? I'm also not, with that, all that being said, I'm not being the person I want to be. Like, I don't want to be this person, but and this is me being harsh on myself, but it's like, you got to grow up. And it's like, you have to make a change of some kind. So the other thing is so this is like piling on and I'm like not happy with myself. And I think I detached from it so much that other areas of my life started getting permeated too. Like, there were some things I would do or say throughout the day where I'm like, who is that person? Like, you're not who I want to be. And what happened was, and I think people can relate to this, I knew something was wrong because I meditate every morning. So I give myself like 5 minutes of alone time with Alex, 5 or 10. And during that time, I didn't want to be alone with myself. My eyes would be open. I'd be fidgeting with the candle. I'd quote unquote have to check my phone. Like, that meditation time, or I would do surfaced things. So I got afraid of me. And I knew, I was like, I don't want to address it because it was painful to address it. But also I was completely avoiding it. I want to say also, I'm a pro go outer. Like, I love, being social is how I fill my cup. I love being social. It's just the way that I've been handling it is, I mean, I think we would all agree, throwing up, blacking out, not knowing how you got home is not social. Like, I would wake up the next morning and my social cup wasn't full. It was emptier than ever, and I was scared of myself. I would wake up the next morning and my social cup wasn't full. I didn't feel fulfilled from the night before. I was scared of what on earth I was doing, and I was wondering why I was still continuing to do the same behavior. Now, I think it's important to say, on social media, I wasn't showing any of this. I wasn't showing it anywhere. My Instagram was the same. I had a chat with a friend here in Oklahoma and told her what was going on. She was like, wow, you just would never really know. So I think the whole social media versus reality thing, sometimes we feel like everyone else around us just, has their stuff together. And we touched on this on the Mean Girl pod yesterday. I was explaining while I was home, and people were messaging me and they were like, I've had the wheels fall off before. I know that feeling. And it's like, well, I thought I was going to be the only one, but we all struggle. Like, we know that. I candidly feel weird about my struggle because I'm like, I brought it upon myself. But I really think if it's true that everything happens for you, not to you, then if we can acknowledge how we feel, or that we simply just don't feel like ourselves. Like, if I can just say, Alex, you were an idiot. I'm embarrassed by how I acted. That in and of itself feels so much better than trying to continue the cover up of like going down the path I was going down. Like, I would go to work and I'd be like, everyth's fine, like robot through, like power through. And it's like every day would just like pile on me. And I was like, you're not happy with yourself. You're not happy with who you're becoming. Like, the problem is, I love Barstool. I love everything it has to offer. I love my job. I was handling it like an idiot. Nothing like a dream job that you don't feel like you're doing justice to. So that's something to think about. But I'm definitely not here to like give advice, because I now more than ever feel like I have no advice to give. I will just say, if you feel like you're not being yourself, it feels really good to acknowledge that. And the people around you, if you surround yourself with the right people, will most of the time be nothing but loving and be like, that's right, you weren't atta girl. Like, because a lot of times all people want is for you to acknowledge it. And I'm sitting in a place of guilt right now where I'm like, I feel guilty for all the times that I blacked out. I feel guilty for some of the things that I did. I'm like, I'm living in guilt. And there's also going to have to be a time where you say, and now we're going forward. Like, acknowledge it and then move on from it and be better because of it. But I think pressing reset's never a bad thing. In fact, I think it actually provides you with the chance to have longevity, because if you don't press the reset, then you're just putting on Band-Aids, and I think the wound gets worse. So, like, a dramatic reset. I wanted to go back to New York on Sunday night, and I was like, that's not going to fix anything. Like, I'm not done yet. And so, if I can reset now, then I can get back to New York and do what I love and do it longer and do it better. Now for the question of, like, my marriage. How's Graham? Let me say, I don't know who hit this kid with what stick. He has been the most patient and encouraging and loving spouse ever. He has not once, he's been stern. He's been like, this isn't safe. You know, like, you can't treat yourself like this, and you deserve better than this, and this isn't Alex. He's definitely said all of those things. But I've never once felt mad or scared to tell him what's really going on. And that's been comforting to me. Like, I've never felt like I should hide. Well, it got to where I couldn't hide it. You know, like, I mean, there would be no hiding that I came home with throw up on my shirt. Or the anxiety the next day would be so bad, it would be crippling, that of course I would tell him. But he's made himself a stable and safe place for me right now while I was struggling. And I said to Emily, who's my producer, yesterday, I said, I don't deserve a Graham. And she said something that I thought was pretty powerful back, like, we all deserve a Graham. And I think that we do. Like, I just hope, because everyone's going to struggle. Everyone's going to have times they're like, oh, not happy with myself. Really not liking me right now. I'm not the best me. And if you can have somebody around you that's like, I'm not mad at you for not being your best you. I just want you to find your best you. And the best path to finding your best you is not me being mad at you. It's just me loving you. It's just me helping you. So, yes, I think in that regard, everybody does deserve a Graham. Since this is a mother-daughter podcast, I want to touch on how my mom and dad have been. They've been surprisingly calm, and very encouraging, and also they're like, we can tell something's going on with you. Like, what is it? And at first I was like, nothing. You guys are smothering me. That's your first sign. That's always my parents' first sign of, like, I said it to them once in college. I was like, you guys are smothering me. And they're like, all right, well, we'll see you in a month when you come up for air and realize we're not smothering you. You're just acting out. They were right. So they were nice. They were really, like, nice isn't the word. They just kind of took a step back, and if I wanted to talk to them, they were cool about that. And if I didn't, they were cool about that too. I think for parents too, I know there's times where, like, you want to get really mad at your kids, and my parents have definitely gotten mad at me in life, but also I was going through a hard time. When I say I was going through a hard time, I want to really nail in that I brought myself to that hard time. But I knew I could come home, and I knew that I could tell them anything. I could tell them everything I had done, and that they were just only going to hug me afterwards. And that's a pretty incredible feeling as a child, to know that you can call your parents at any age. But I was fighting. I mean, you guys saw the episode 2 episodes ago where I was just fighting with my mom, and I was like, you're smothering me. Now, there's still parts of that fight where I'm like, I had some valid points, and so did she. But it's not like me to just be fighting with my mom. There's something in Alex that's going on where it's like, nah, that's not good. We're down an irrational path, that we got to come back to the point. We can't go past the point of no return. We have to come back up to the top. So that, I think, is Oh, you know what? Also, kudos to my mom. She's living in New York. She started a new job. And then this past month, she deals with her crazy daughter. I know if she was sitting beside me, though, she'd be like, that's like a mom's dream, though. You know, like just getting to be there, like have a front row seat with your child's pretty cool, too. So I've had some DMs. Since we touched on this on the Mean Girl pod yesterday, I've been talking to some people about this whole kind of like the wheels off blackout drinking thing. One guy asked me what to do about it. And let me just say, I don't know. If you know, let me know. I don't think there's an answer to it. I think it can be applicable to an overarching scenario of like if you feel yourself slipping away or if you're not happy with how you're acting. The only thing I can say is it feels really good to admit it. But past that, I don't have any advice for it. I don't know what it looks like going forward other than I'm so sick of having a pit in my stomach and not feeling good about what I'm doing. I'll probably err a little bit on the side of caution moving forward, which I'm fine with for now. But never lose your optimism, because I think it's all you have. I've lost mine a little bit. Not bad, but definitely a bit. And I don't have the answers. I will say this though. It's comforting to know I can tell you in my DMs, like, you're not alone. I'm not alone. We're all human and we definitely all struggle. So try to remember that. I know it's hard sometimes when you're in it because it feels paralyzing and you feel like you're the only person on the planet, but you're not. So just know that you're not alone. I pulled some scenarios. There was one couple who said that they had to like that. She said, a girl DM'd me and said, my husband went through this. He was off the rails and they got back on track, and now every month they'll like celebrate being on track. And I'm like, that's so cute. Like, that's the kind of relationship to strive for, is like, because we're all going to fall off track at some point, but how nice is it to have somebody that's like, I want to see you back on track. And then the other story is not as an exciting ending, but a guy DM'd me and said he had a girl like me that kind of fell off the rails, and it progressed for 1 year. She never got back on and they ended up breaking up. So I think, actually, you know what? Let that, I guess, kind of be an eye-opener. If you do fall off, instead of letting it go all the way off, crash and burn, if you can find it in you to admit it to somebody and be like, I need some help. Like, I want to get back to who I am. I think that's really powerful too. Okay, I didn't want to end on that. So I did a poll on Instagram and asked you guys some questions. I'm going to answer some of them. The lighting's different now if you're on YouTube because the sun's setting. Oklahoma has beautiful sunsets. Okay, the first one, how to dig yourself out of a rut when you feel lost in life or your job. What a question for this one. I have to say, I obviously don't know the real answer to this because I'm experiencing it myself, but everybody that I've always read says get outside of yourself. For me, getting outside of myself is like calling somebody, texting somebody, even though you don't want to. Being active. Like, I just had to go on a walk around the block. It wasn't even long. It was maybe 5 minutes, but it got me out of my own head. So I would say don't sit in that bed. Don't scroll on your phone. Don't stay in your head. Get outside of yourself. What do you think your Oklahoma roots provide you, especially in a big city? Okay, I don't think this about Oklahoma. I think this about home. Wherever you're from, it's such a big part of you. So for me, for example, Oklahoma will always be here and your home will always be there. And yeah, feel free to go explore, move, do whatever you want, but never forget where you came from and appreciate being born there, being raised there, because that's a large part of what shapes us. So Oklahoma is, I love Oklahoma. I love the people here, but it's also where I was born and raised. And I think that's really special. The world's big, so something to connect you is where you were born. That's inevitable. That's really special if you think about it. Advice on changing when you don't like who you're becoming. Oh, well, I'm quite familiar with this. Admitting it. Just at a bare minimum, if you can acknowledge and admit that you don't like who you're becoming, that's pretty good. Because a lot of people, I think, just keep going. And if you say, I don't like who I'm becoming, no one's going to be like, oh, I'm mad at you. They're going to be like, that's pretty cool that you were able to see that. So admit it to yourself, maybe to a close friend, and then make some changes. But you'll know if you have the wherewithal to admit it, you'll know what changes to make. You'll know it in your heart. Trust your heart. What advice do you have for recovering from anxiety? I got submitted a lot of questions, and Emily, my producer, picked these. These are funny. I have a lot of experience with anxiety recently. Make a to-do list, not a large one. If you have some work to do, make a to-do list of like 3 things and check those off, because completing a goal makes you feel good. And then at night, put on an old movie, like one you've seen before, and watch it. It's the best. Like The Proposal or Cinderella Story, something like that. Just watch like a good movie. There's nothing better than a good movie. Just accepted a job in New York City. Any advice for a single 29-year-old? I think dating apps are the best. On the Mean Girl Pod, I go through Jordan, my co-host's dating applications, especially in New York, but anywhere. Like, having the ability to get on a dating app is so cool because you can just swipe through people. Plus, now more than ever, I think after COVID, people want to go on dates. They want to meet up. So if anything, you have a friend out of it. And if you don't have a friend, you probably learned something. At least you had a meal with somebody. So I think get on the apps. If you're single, app it out. Also join a gym. I think there's a lot of single people at gyms. I want to hear more about college, Alex. Sorority advice. I had a lot of fun in college. I was in a sorority in college, but I think the key to college is say yes to everything within reason. So, and I don't mean say yes to everything. I mean do everything to the fullest extent. This is for college. This is for your first year working. This is for your first anything. First year married. Like, try to get the most out of all the phases. So applying this to college would be try hard in school, but also try hard to be social. Try hard to make friends. Try hard to still take care of yourself. Enjoy having roommates. Applying that to a job would be like, don't think you know everything. Try hard to learn new things. Try to ask the people that have been there for a long time for advice. Like, really try to make the most, like squeeze the most out of every spot of the orange, I think. Also, be nice to everybody in college. Like, if you're in a sorority and you have classes or something with people that aren't, don't treat them any differently. That always drove me crazy when they were like, they're not Greek life. I'm like, well, who are you for being Greek life? We're all in this together. Favorite thing about my mom, this is easy. It's her ability to mom. She would do anything for my brother and I. I write this in every card I give her. If I could be 1/4 of the mother to my kids that she is to me, I'll be happy, because she packed our lunches. She took us to school. She dropped us off. Like, she also disciplined us. Like, she was such a good mom to us. That's my favorite thing about her. Also, her spirit. Like, she goes hard in things. She doesn't do anything halfway. If she's going to do it, man, she's going to do it. So I love that about her. Okay, that's all. That was fun. I want to end here. I think it's important that we all step outside of our comfort zone. I think it's important that if you want to move, take a new job, any of that you do it. Nobody ever said anything was going to be easy. There's always going to be ups and downs. There's always going to be growing pains. I tried to not lose myself, but I lost myself. But I feel like I don't want to be cliche and be like, this is life. But this is life. Like, this is the beauty and the ups and the downs, the good and the bad of literally this thing we all live called life. And if things were easy, I don't think they'd be that glorifying. You know, like, the hard times they're what make us us. I do want everyone to know you're not alone. My mom is going to be, I'm segueing very quickly here. My mother, it's when I purge these things out of me, I kind of go a little bit brain dead. But my mom is going to be in New York next week. I'm going to Colorado this weekend, then I'm in New York next week. What can you expect from us going forward? Remember, like, 3 episodes ago when I hadn't lost my mind? That Alex, that mom-daughter podcast, I want to bring that back. I loved that. I was having so much fun with that. So we're going back to the laughing. I mean, we're going to have arguments. Like, I'm not saying those are going anywhere. We're still a mother-daughter. It's hard to work with your mom, just as equally to be said as it's hard to work with your daughter. But Kim and I, we're going to be better because of this. I always think if you can get through it, you might not be spiritual, But if you're spiritual in any capacity, your spirit brings you to it. It's the same one that'll bring you through it type thing. I think we're better because of these times. I know we're better because of these times. I can feel it in my gut. I'm like, let's get through it. Because on the other side of it is optimism. Is you're going to feel good about yourself. Like, I can't wait to get back to New York and be like, oh, I like this, Alex. Oh, I like you. Oh, I'm proud of you. And everybody deserves that. So when you're down on yourself, remember that it will pass. The feelings all pass. And I love you guys. I'm happy that I'm able to share this with you. I'm only able to share it with you guys because we have a great audience. And we've built a really good audience. And I'm sorry that I have been a little MIA the past month. But #back. So, because I said so to the moon, and the mother-daughter podcast to the moon. And lots of reels, we're going to start exploring New York more. That's like one thing we really want to do is get out, explore the city, make funny TikToks, make funny Instagram reels, and have a great podcast about us exploring New York and getting this chance of living in New York together and experiencing this time. So that's what we're going to do. Mom, I know you're listening to this. I love you. I'm proud of you. And everybody, have a good weekend. Don't black out. Go out, but don't do what I did.